All right, guys. I hope you pull up a blanket, get comfortable for this episode. You might not be able to do that if you're working out or driving. But this episode is going to be a little different. Um, at some point, I'm going to encourage you to get a journal or some paper and write down the things that we talk about. Write down your answers for the questions that I ask on this episode. And yeah, to quote a Rich Mullins song, I think it was Here in America. They had a little bit of the band right before they started the song, where someone chimed in the band saying that they barely feel ready to do this, but here we go. And and I feel the same about this episode. Um, uh, to quote another Rich Mullins song, Rich Mullins is one of my favorite artists. He One of the titles of his song is on the verge of a miracle. Um, and I don't want to overstate it, but I don't want to undersell this episode. Because that's kind of the intention I'm bringing to this year and to this podcast. Um, I can I don't know about you, but I really need things to change yeah, in life. I'm getting tired of this pandemic, and I'm talking to a lot of people who feel the same. So lots of hope, lots of anticipation stored up for this year, but also not sure, lots of uncertainty ahead. So I want to work through that with you on this episode. And so, like this year, this podcast, it could go really bad or it could go really good. And uh, I've been looking forward to this episode, but also realizing I've been procrastinating on it because I know that there's a lot at stake sometimes, and you might be feeling the same way. So uh, this uh, this episode, if it's the one episode, if it's the one chance I get for you to listen to me, um, uh, I'm gonna try to bring my best to this, with the hopes that it will be life changing for you. A podcast, listening to a podcast, going through a podcast. Will this change my life? Will this improve my life? Will this help me? And I can confidently say yes. Yes, it will. Um, if you take it to heart and if you take action on it. Why? Because this podcast is going to be all about you. This is going to be about where you're at, what's led you up to this point, what's brought you to this point here at the beginning of 2022. And that we're going to work through some things to get some clarity about who you are, where you're at, and what's the next best step. What do you need to do? What do you need to press into, and move on? And so some of you, the first, you're getting off to a good start to the year, the first week of the year, and you're focused and you're uh, working your new diet plan. You're cutting down on alcohol for the month of January. Um, you're done with the Christmas holiday snacks, chocolates and baked goods, and you're cleaning up your diet. And so maybe you're excited and you're feeling positive and you're feeling great, and you like what you're doing. But if you're like most of the people that I talked to last week, I talked to about 50 people last week on the phone and on video about where they're at here at the beginning of the year, and they're feeling kind of stuck, um, and they've still got holiday hangover. They're still feeling guilty and off track, and off from the disruption of the routines of travel and time off work and time with family, which for most of the people I talked to was stressful. Some of it great, mixed feelings, but some of it not great. So deep breath, let's pause and just take some time to reorient yourself. And the last couple of years for most people has been very disruptive, difficult, discouraging. But more and more, people are realizing you can't wait till this is all over, until we're through it, to get on with your life and enjoy life and thrive. Despite Delta, despite Omicron variant, despite masks and the stress of vaccine controversies and stuff like that. All of that noise and disunity has just been so mentally and emotionally draining and taxing on relationships. So I want to focus on other things in your life, the things that you can control, the things that you can succeed, grow, and improve and learn and succeed in. And I'm hoping that for myself. So really, one of the things that was difficult about anticipating doing this podcast is I'm so used to talking with people, interacting with them on the phone and by video with coaching and counseling appointments. And it's usually back and forth, at most 50-50, but not usually. Usually I'm listening to people and they're talking 70%, 80% of the time. So podcasting is a really a growth area for me. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to pretend like I'm sitting down one-on-one with someone who is trying to figure out life, is trying to figure out what they want to do this year, what they need to do. And so if you're doing great, maybe this will I don't know how much I need this. Hopefully it'll help improve what you're doing. That's good to great. It'll help you stay on track, help you stay focused. Maybe download this podcast for a rainy day when you might get discouraged or off track. But this is for anyone who's feeling stuck and needs a boost. So first thing, first thing, this podcast is sponsored by the letter P. I started writing down some notes, some words, and I noticed that they all started, a few of them started with the letter P. So I'm going to alliterate like crazy today. Because the first thing I started with was just thinking about purpose. And sometimes I meet with folks and they're disconnected from their purpose. They feel like they've lost their purpose, or they don't have a guiding light, a North Star. They haven't found their purpose yet. And I met with someone this week where it clicked, and I realized, and I said this to them, you don't have to create your purpose or find you don't lose your purpose based on how you feel. You don't lose your purpose based on your failures. You can get distracted, you can get disconnected, and you can get off track from living out your purpose. But your purpose is is true and real and there regardless of your performance, and it's there whether you realize it or not. And your purpose is your purpose. The it, a lot of times your purpose isn't dependent on your performance either. And so what are the things that throw us off? Why is this so hard? Why do we get stuck? Why is it so confusing? It is confusing when you disconnect from your purpose or you don't have a clear sense of it. So one thing that throws us off or makes life hard is pain. And things that are hard. So when we're naturally wired to avoid pain. Pain seems like a bad thing, especially if you've experienced a lot of it. So you can get practiced at avoiding pain, whether that's in relationships or in pursuing goals and dreams. And so whether, like some folks, if they've had negative experiences in school, can quickly learn, a terrible teacher, rejection, lack of success, trouble fitting in. If school was a negative, a bad place, if math, certain subject, caused pain, and you didn't succeed, you don't press into that more. You try to find the things that you enjoy, the things that don't cause pain. And that, so for a lot of folks, healthy habits, eating healthy, going to the gym, school, career, growth professionally, can be associated with pain. One thing that's really painful for me is like logistical stuff, with like paperwork and scheduling and reimbursements and insurance and like all that stuff. That just gives me a headache. So we procrastinate on sometimes doing the things we should do or need to do, our responsibilities, because of pain. So I'm just going to take a moment to think through or ask you, what are some of the things that have caused pain in your life? Pain in your past or pain in your present? What are some of the things that you're stuck because of those pain points? That's what we get stuck in, those pain points. Developmentally, as humans, sometimes we can get stuck in developmental stages because of pain, and unresolved issues. It becomes an unresolved issue. What are some of the things that have caused you pain? For me, one of the things, as an Enneagram 7, I'm kind of bounce around on projects, and all these great ideas and daydreams, but some of the pain is like unfulfilled and unfinished projects and unfulfilled potential, and not following up on promises to myself and others. That's painful. And so that, again, I kind of described this earlier. I'll say it a little bit more. Like the resistance and the procrastination to hit record, to sit down and record this. But I'm realizing that how do you discern between what's resistance? Stephen Pressfield, and Gay Hendricks, the Big Leap, the War of Art. They talk about capital R resistance, or the upper limit problem. When you try to attempt something to grow and press into something different, there's something that holds you back. Brene Brown, she calls them the gremlins. How do you discern between it? That's resistance that I have to press through and battle and fight and get past, or is it like a legitimate obstacle that, oh, maybe I'm feeling this way and it's so hard because it's not the way I should go. It's not something I should do. My answer for today, and what I'm kind of going with, is you don't figure it out just being paralyzed and frozen and not doing anything and overthinking things. You figure that out as you attempt it. So having a bias towards action and giving it a try, and then you can figure out, well, is that a brick wall, or is that just like a road, a speed bump, an obstacle that you can creatively get around, or is it really not the way you should be going? You figure that out through trying it and doing it. So that's the next thing is, where's the pain in your life? And then what are some things that you're thinking about that you would do if there wasn't any pain and resistance? One of my two big goals for this year are, one, to take my daughter on a road trip after she graduates, hopefully New York City, because she didn't get a chance to go there 2 years ago. 1 week, or the week that she was supposed to go to New York City, and we were going to go to Washington, D.C. too, the pandemic hit. So that's my main goal, is to do a road trip with my daughter. And then the second goal I have for this year, which I have been thinking about for over 2 years, right before the pandemic hit, is to do a coaching group or a counseling group, to try to help more people. But yeah, I'm not. I help people overcome resistance and procrastination. But what is it, like the hair club for men? Like, I am also a client. I am preaching to myself. I'm talking to myself here on this podcast as I figure out. Yeah, my first week of the year, it was exhausting. It was tough. I was like, okay, need to pause, need to reorient. Okay. Okay, pain, procrastination. What are you avoiding? What do you need to do that you're avoiding? And what do you want to do? What would be fun? Feeling guilty about procrastination, it's kind of like debt that accumulates. Same thing with perfectionism and overthinking. The longer that it goes on, the more it builds up and the harder it gets, right? Get caught in that vicious cycle. So where are you procrastinating? Where are you overthinking things and being perfectionistic about? Yeah. So been doing the podcast for a year. Still haven't gotten it to where I'd like it to be. Like, I like podcasts that have show notes and are super. Still haven't added that. I do not blog consistently. I blog like one every 10 episodes. And it would be nice to have a blog post for every episode. But I'd rather do a podcast, and have it out there than not, because I don't have a blog post that goes along with it. So what are you overthinking? Just want to encourage you to start something and be willing to be a beginner and be a white belt. Some people, they don't go to the gym. They want to be in better shape before they go to the gym. It's pride, it's ego, it's vanity. You don't have to look cute to go to the gym. You go to the gym to look cute. You do not have I can, you go to the gym to get in shape. Don't worry about it. Like I I I haven't been to like 24-hour fitness or those like the health club gym. I go to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym, which is where it's definitely true. People don't care what you look like. We're making faces while we're trying to choke each other. You don't look pretty when someone's like smashing you and pinning you to the ground, and you're grunting and groaning to like try to get out from someone pinning you. Nobody cares what you look like at the gym. Maybe at the places that have lots of mirrors. But I just encourage you get over yourself. Like where do you need to get over yourself? Okay, I'm asking a lot of questions. Hopefully you pause at appropriate times and kind of think about it. Where do you need to get over yourself? Let me see. How would I answer that? I've gotten I think yes, I've gotten off track from doing live videos. A couple of years ago, I would challenge myself to do like a daily video on a topic. I did a daily video about marriage and parenting 1 month, and did a daily video about personal growth and mental health 1 month. And it was kind of fun. But again, that challenge of like talking to the camera and feeling self-conscious because there's no back and forth. So it can get kind of tough. But I think maybe I need to get over myself and like keep doing that. And if you think of it, message me for any topics, any videos that you want me to do. Okay. So getting back to purpose. What have you identified your purpose in life? For me, it's pretty simple: loving God, loving others. And the rest is details. But for you, whether it's your faith or your something else in your worldview that is outside of yourself and bigger than yourself, that you need to connect with that. I'm reading this book by a magician. I'm blanking on it because I just started it yesterday. But one of the quotes was, "Happiness is found when you find something bigger than yourself, and serve something bigger than yourself." And I believe that. But yeah, when we look to ourselves because we're imperfect and flawed and small and incomplete, sometimes it can be disappointing. There's not much to it there, but when we're part of something bigger than ourselves, we grow. And I don't want to overstate that and say like we're worthless and we're worms. But yeah, I believe we're designed to be a part of community, of a body, of a family, and then that is another thing that gets us disconnected from our purpose, is when we don't have our people. So there's the other P word. So purpose, and you got to find your purpose. You got to be clear about your purpose. A few other things that purpose provides is perspective. So how's your lately, what is your perspective about yourself? I say this with clients sometimes to check in, what are, and if you're a client of mine, you've heard this, and you hear this most times with me. But what are 3 to 5 words to describe? Usually I ask feelings, how you're feeling and how things are going. But I'm going to ask this right now is, what are 3 to 5 words that describe how you see yourself right now, today, this week, at the start of 2022? What are 3 to 5 words? Give you a chance to think about that. Where, and what is your perspective and your perception of how you're fitting in with your family, with your relationships? You feeling connected, feeling disconnected? Are you alone? You're feeling lonely, feeling great, feeling energized, feeling full of love, feeling some resentment, feeling some bitterness, feeling uncared for, unnoticed. How's your relationships? And then with personal growth, whether it's in the area of career, or hobbies, personal development, financial goals, where you're at in life. How are you, what's your perspective of that? For me, I'd say growing for sure, learning about trauma, learning about polyvagal theory, dopamine addiction, neurochemistry, still learning about that. It's fun. I majored in biology as an undergrad, and so neurochemistry and physiology and how chemicals work, how different shaped chemicals fit together, chemical structure, neural pathways, all that stuff I geek out about. You do you like the way your life is heading? Do you like the trajectory of your life? Are you just kind of steady, kind of skating along, kind of doing the same thing? Not terrible, not great. Are you slipping? Are you getting off track? Are you losing your way? Are you getting more overwhelmed, more confused, more stuck in the vicious cycles? Getting discouraged, getting tired of it? Or you moving, making progress? How are you perceiving how things are going right now? Okay, so a few more P words to consider. Before we do that, purpose, perspective, perception. I think this is a paraphrase of John Ortberg in Soul Keeping. He said, if your soul is at rest and at peace, then no matter what your circumstances, if your soul is okay, then you're okay. You have a sense of safety, security, stability, peace, and joy. If your soul is at ease. Flip side, if your circumstances are great, finances, career, work, family, kids, squeaky clean and shiny, but your soul is not at ease, not at rest, not at peace, then you can be miserable. That's a long paraphrase. But you get the point. It's not necessarily about circumstances. It's about being connected with yourself and your purpose and yourself, your own personhood. Do you like who you are? Do you like who you are becoming? Are you comfortable in your own skin? Do you like you? I was talking with one of my people, where, when we experience rejection or lack of belonging or misunderstanding, in relationship or in a group, then it really hurts. And I admit, I like people to like me. Um, uh, but push comes to shove, if somebody else doesn't like me, then that I can say, like, that's their issue, because I like me. I have fun. Um, and you know, for the most part, overall, I'm comfortable with myself. And that helps. I think that helps me be more resilient, and not get too hung up on disappointments and rejections with people. So how are you doing in that area with you know you're loving yourself? um do you love yourself? um i I like this Brennan Manning quote. I hope I get it right. um he said, God loves you as you are, not as you should be, because no one is who they should be. um the Right, it should be yet. No, but fundamentally, uh you are loved by God. You are valuable, precious. You are here for a purpose, um, on this world, and you, regardless of what you do, um, how you perform, or how you serve others, well, regardless of your success, you are valuable. You are loved. You are worthy of love. And it's like, um, and it's not about deserving, um, or how well you follow rules or whatever. um like it's a gift. God's love is a gift to you. It's super hard to remember that, right? When I make mistakes, when I don't do as much work as I want to do, make as much progress I do, like, how good I feel about myself is based on that. um and it's not to say that we shouldn't feel negative consequences for when we don't, you know do what we should. um but those those things are separate from our core identity and value and worth. And I think we're just healing. A lot of the folks I work with, I guess, I have to say, I realize, like, not everybody listening to this podcast is struggling with depression or anxiety. is so I Grain of salt. I spend the most time of my life, the work week, day to day, with folks who are struggling. So that's kind of that's kind of the mindset that I'm speaking about. um uh yeah, anxiety and depression distort our thinking, distort our view of ourselves. um and it really, like, mutates, um like, pain and disappointments and imperfections, and it just makes it bigger than it needs to be, in our lives. And then so we're just constantly, oh, I got off track with that thought. The way we're raised, you know, uh, whatever our family of origin, love you, mom, dad. But uh, we get these imperfect messages, uh, about how to succeed in life and who we should be, and we're healing from just that idea that our love is based on how well we perform or succeed. And we have to fight against that. um so what am I talking about? So take a look at your paradigms, what you believe is true about life and yourself and how the world works. You may disagree with some of the things I've said. That's fine. Just be clear about what you believe, your paradigms. Take a look if it's working for you, if it's practically working for you. And then take a look at your patterns and your personality. So let's talk a little bit about patterns, um, aka habits. Everybody's talking about habits. Last 5 years. Thank you, Charles Duhigg, Power Habit. Thank you, James Clear, Atomic Habits. Thank you, BJ Fogg, Tiny Habits. It's all about habits. I love it. Like, I half of the week I'm working with people about their healthy habits, their behavioral habits to improve their physical health usually, but also mental, emotional. And then also working with couples and families about their relational habits and patterns. So patterns is the P word. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about habits. And then another word to think about is your personality. So how do you express yourself, who you are? Our patterns and our personality, there's also an interplay with those things with our priorities. So take a look here at the start of the year at your daily and weekly patterns, the rhythms of your day, the rhythms of your life, your morning routine, your evening routine, your bedtime routine. How are you starting the day physically? How are you doing with your physical energy? Are you tired? Do you wake up tired? Do you wake up rested? Do you wake up ready to face the day? If not, does your morning routine warm you up and get you focused and get you going and prepare you for the day? And the way you go through the day with work and boundaries of time, do you skip lunch? You skip breakfast and lunch? Lots of people are skipping breakfast for intermittent fasting. But are you also skipping lunch and then overeating in the evening? How are you doing with your patterns? What do you want to keep doing, protecting because it was good? And what are the habits and daily rhythms? Some of my Bridgetown, I'm sorry, Bridge City and Bridgetown. Church folks will be familiar with the idea of a rule of five, or rule of life. Rule of five is John Maxwell. But how's your rule of life? Do you like your keystone habits? And how are you doing with your evenings and your bedtime routine? Do you like the way you're living your life? Do you like the way you're spending your life? I was joking with some folks this week about how we scroll through Instagram and watch YouTube like we're trying to become an expert at it. And are we working on developing 10,000 hours of Instagram scrolling expertise or on a video game? Because purpose, reconnecting to our purpose and our personhood and who we are, our identity, our patterns, our practices, patterns and practices. Is it developing us into the person that we want to be? One shift for me, I realize, is to develop into the person I want to be, someone who coaches people, who speaks, can do speaking at conferences or with groups at a more effective level. I need to take more action and do more practice with those things and not just consume content. I'm usually just, got the stack of books everywhere around the house, on the nightstand and on tables all over the house. consume. I need to implement and put those ideas into practice, and develop those. So, what are you doing great in with patterns? What are you doing okay with, and could improve? Like I'm getting into the pattern practice of doing a podcast. I definitely want to improve it, be more focused, be more effective. And then what are negative patterns that you either need to limit or cut out? I I'll say it out loud because I decided it last week. I need to follow through on it. I'm definitely going to cut out TikTok for social media. I love the food videos on there, but I can see those on Instagram. It's just too much, and it doesn't align with what I'm trying to teach people about the addictive nature of social media. Like TikTok is like Instagram on steroids, and it totally feeds the negative, in my opinion. It's just, man, it's just totally designed to suck you in to it for way too long. And the folks that I want to connect with and influence and help aren't necessarily on TikTok, I don't think, because it's not it's not a dialogue. It's just consumption. And I know there's people on there that are using it well, but I'm too old for that. And I'm going to focus on other things, because so that's another thing. We can't do everything. I mean, it's fun. We can't do everything. So this year, with deciding what patterns to prioritize and what focus on, is we get more effective when we focus on things. And one way that to do that is you can like make it a project, make it a sprint. A couple episodes ago, I talked about the decision to try to do stand-up comedy for an open mic. So that was like a project. I had a deadline, I had a couple like 6-8 weeks to prepare, and got super focused on it and did a deep dive. And throwing myself into that helped me prepare and make progress. So when you it can help to focus on something for a month or for 3 months, and work on a project. That can be like a self-development project. That can be a health goal. That can be a relationship. You know, dating your spouse, turning off Netflix and finding something creative and fun to do together can be a really good way of reconnecting, getting closer, communicating better, growing your marriage, your relationship, and making steps and progress towards you know your life and your relationship becoming what you want it to be. Do you want the defining characteristic of your marriage to be that were really good at watching Netflix together? Yeah. You know, what, uh, yeah. What more do you want or need in your life? Okay. Just a few questions. It would be great to hear your answers. So join the Facebook group, facebook.com. You can find it. I forget the URL, but Courage Coaching Counseling Podcast. I post the episodes there. Comment your answers on this. If there's anything that you'd like to share about this episode. Okay. Personality. I'll say a little bit more about that. Some of you may be like me. where you know your personality. You love personality tests. You know your Myers-Briggs test. You know your Enneagram number. You know your DISC. You know your Strengths Finder results, and any other myriad of assessments. You know your Harry Potter character and Marvel character who you resemble most. Personality. Some of you, you're like, I don't like personality tests. I don't care. I couldn't care less. Encourage you to develop a little bit more self-awareness and curiosity about yourself, even if you don't care about Enneagram, or even if you like, I'm not going to do that one because that's evil. Self-awareness. Know your strengths and weaknesses, and the more you're aware, the more you can accept yourself, and the more you can position yourself in different ways that highlight your strengths, the strengths of your personality, the more you can join with teams that can that honor and respect and value your input and who you uniquely are. And hopefully your role in the organization, whether it's church or volunteer group or club or friend group or work, aligns with your personality. And because when you get a chance to express who you are, one, it's fun, and then two, you feel more understood and valued. And even though I said earlier that your value and your purpose and your worth can't be taken away, on the other hand, it is nice when people affirm you and understand and appreciate what you contribute and bring to any situation. And that I think that's ideally, like, some people, they're like, I don't need people, I just need me and God and I'll be happy and it's fine. No. Well, sorry, shouldn't say that. That sounds super spiritual. But it can also be self-protective. It's risky to show up in places and say, this is who I am, and this is what I bring. And ideally, people are like, wow, you're awesome, so glad you're here, it's great. And we are better because you are here on our team, and you are doing this. We are doing this with you, and it's great that we get a chance to know you, and that you're with us, that you've chosen to belong with us. That's a great feeling. That you don't always get that level of acceptance. Some you may have experienced being yourself in groups and you're rejected, and you're odd, you're ostracized, you're weird, your ideas get shot down, and like never the group never runs with your input. That stinks. If you can, find a better group, find better friends. But sometimes you can't always do that. So until you can find a group that 100% is the first scenario I described, do your best to connect with people who do appreciate you. And even if you don't get 100% acceptance, don't do all or nothing and then just give up, and fight for it. Shine, let people see who you are. Keep going. Sometimes I tell clients this is, and based on what the Bible says about God working all things together for good, that if it hasn't worked out yet for good, doesn't feel like it's, you haven't gotten through redemption and healing and reconciliation, then you just haven't gotten there yet, right? Keep going. Don't settle, and don't just sit down and get paralyzed and get stuck. I am saying this to myself too. Some of you might feel paralyzed, and so, like, I often tell clients, like, so what's the next step? What's the next best step? And if you're pretty beat down and discouraged and paralyzed, the next best step might not be to, just take this huge leap, and make this huge thing, put 2 weeks notice, break up, or, uh, apply for grad school or whatever. It might not be a huge move. Your next best move might be to just think about it more and dream a little bit, and give yourself a little bit more permission to believe or imagine that things could change. You might have to heal up. You might have to gather yourself, and get ready for that big move. So, but try to think, like, I'm not ready to make a move today. I'm not ready to make a move tomorrow or this week, but by the end of the month, I want ... Or you could do the Simon Sinek thing and start with why, and then figure out the how, the steps. So maybe think about the big move that you want to make, the big change that you want to make. What is it? Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. Where do you ultimately want to end up, in life and personally? I am looking forward to babysitting my grandkids right now. I'm a new grandpa. I'm enjoying being, just the idea of spending more time with my granddaughter. But that's just one of the goals. Okay. So this year, or not just this year, let me back up a little bit. I should have structured this, and I'm not going to edit this to put this at the beginning, but past, present, future. Where are you living these days? Are you spending more time dwelling on the past, whether it's nostalgia of how things were great in the past and better days were in the past and you peaked in the past, nostalgia, or are you stuck in the past because of regrets? And the past is defining you, like your hits and misses and failures and disappointments and regrets. Are they the way you see yourself, the way you see life, the way you see people? Maybe you're disappointed, church hurt. Maybe you're deconstructing, and your past church experience, your past experiences of trusting people is broken. It has broken you, soured you to the idea of being involved in church or with people. Your past. Present, I talk about what's painful right now, what needs to change, what needs to get better. And then the future, what is your perspective on the future? Optimistic, low expectations, low bar for the future, for yourself, for people. Maybe you're settling, maybe you're playing it safe. If you've been hurt, it's understandable, for sure. But let's take a look at a different category. I know this is long. You might need to stop, pause. You're talking about a lot of stuff, covering a lot of ground. Like, I like some of the stuff that we talk about, like in coaching and counseling, spend like a month or two on some of these topics. Sometimes 3 to 6 months on some of these topics. But let's shift. Let's talk about people, the people in your life. We need people. Purpose. We need purpose. We need people. We need connection. We need healthy connections. I'm learning about attachment science. I'm learning about secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. But we need safe, secure people. We need solid people in our lives. So here's a few different types of people that we need. We and I'm doing this with the alliteration. We need pastors and professionals that we look up to. Now, pastors doesn't have to be a pastor at a church, but a leader, someone we look up to, someone who shepherds us and mentors us. We need someone to mentor us, to shepherd us, spiritually, professionally, relationally, in life. Guys need guys to look up to, that have done this before, that have made the mistakes, learn what they need to learn, people who are wise. And then professionals, people who we look up to, people who are the kind of the example, kind of the pattern that we want to follow professionally, or academically, or even in as a parent. Who are the people that you look up to? So who are the people you look up to? Who are the people who are actually investing in you? So we need those types of people in our life. Then people we look up to, and then we need our peers. We need peers and partners. So we need people to push us on, and so our mentors can push us, but it helps to have people who are coming alongside of us, whether it's on our work team and we're working on stuff together, whether it's a small group, we're doing life together. Maybe you're in a small group community group who are in the same life stage as you, whether it's as like a young couple, or maybe like you're single now. And I am a proponent and fan of like mixed groups, in small group and community group, singles and mixed, and or singles and mixed, singles and couples with young kids, couples with teens, empty nesters, like retired people, like because we need people. We need people in all different stages of life to learn about life. Who are your peers and who are your partners that are sharpening you up? So in jiu-jitsu, black belts are the professionals. They're people that we're learning from and aspiring to, and who are just better than us and further along the road. And then there's I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and so purple belts, blue belts, white belts at our gym push me. Those are my peers, my partners that make me better. Who are the people that make you better? Are your relationships, are the people that you spend time with making you better, making your life better? And I'm not talking about just what can you get out of them to get ahead and successful in life, whatever success is, your definition is, but are they your friends? Are these people that you can be vulnerable and trust and share and be real with? And is it mutual? Are they investing in you, and are you investing in them, or is it one-sided? Is it unhealthy? How are you doing with those people? Okay. And then this is cheesy because I'm trying to squeeze a P word in, but professionals you look up to, people who are your peers, and then who are you investing in? Who are your Padawans? Star Wars reference. Who are you mentoring? Who are you helping along? Who are you investing? Who are you teaching, training, showing the way? It helps. Who are you serving? Even if they're not younger, but who are you serving? Life, there's just so much joy. There's more hope. It just you it brings the best out of you when you serve other people. Um, Now, I'm not trying to put pressure on your already busy life and just add something, one more thing to do so that you just burn out more and just get drained more. Um, so if you're like most people, you're too busy to add something. So what could you trade for it? What could you do less to invest in other people more? Um, my daughter and my wife, they volunteer at organization Compassion Connect. They mentor middle school or even younger, I think, maybe tweens, maybe fifth through eighth grade girls, and they just get together with them and are mentoring them, and so and they like it, even though it can be challenging and hard at times. Um, so who do you want to invest in more? Who do you want to invest in more? Um, I'll say this now because I forgot to mention this in patterns. One of the huge patterns, huge patterns, guys, that people are dealing with is just screen addiction. Addiction to being informed about the news, uh, fear of missing out, screen time, social media, YouTube, Netflix. Um, but the solution to dopamine addiction is not more dopamine. Um, the solution to dopamine addiction is more connection. So who can you connect with more? Mentors, people you look up to. Who can you connect with more? More friends in real life, um, or invest in um, uh, younger people. Um, think about your connection and think about the health of your connections too. Are your people safe? Can you be real with them? Can you be open and honest with them? Or are you hiding and performing and trying to get acceptance and or dopamine boosts from their like admiration of you? Um, yeah, who can you be more real with this year? Um, those are the main people. Another thing might be maybe talk to a counselor or a therapist this year, or a coach. If if you have issues, pain, trauma, brokenness, if uh, if the idea of being open and vulnerable and with others or yourself, if you're just not sure um, how to just take stock of yourself and your life and what you've been through, um, uh, definitely encourage you work with a therapist. Um, and yeah, okay. Circling back to purpose again. Um, what what are you most passionate about? Sometimes that's a clue to your purpose, like why you've been put here on earth for. Um, it- I At the start of this, I said like this podcast could change your life. Maybe it's not changing your life. Maybe it's just helping you live out your life in the best way possible, um, or improving or a better way. Reconnect with your passion. If you're not feeling passionate about anything, then why? What's getting away from it? What's getting in the way from that? Of that? Um, why not? Maybe you're tired. Um, Maybe you're giving your energy, your passion. In some ways, I think it's renewable and it feeds itself. But that's if you give it to the right things. If you if you if you invest in people, if you invest in your purpose, If you invest in your passion, then it reinforces itself and it grows. Like, I'm passionate about jujitsu, and I've been doing it for 21 years. Um, uh, but if you're giving your mental, emotional energy to things that don't return it, like too much screen time, there's a law of diminishing returns where you get bored with that, and you need more and different, and you just have that uh, it just creates more craving, more dissatisfaction. So you just need more and more to not feel great. You need more and more to just feel okay. That's Anna Lemke, the author of Dopamine Nation. She kind of spells out the mechanism of that, where when we get addicted to dopamine, if we don't have it, we feel anxious and terrible. But when we have it, we don't feel happy. We just feel stable. We just feel not anxious, you know. Um, and so maybe your passion is stolen away from that. Maybe your passion is stolen away by pain. Maybe your passion um, is waning or low because you're alone. Maybe you need some people, kindred spirits, to kind of feed that passion. So I just said less screen time. But there are helpful groups for whatever your passion is, online. And so sometimes that can be fun to connect with. But in real life, try to connect with people. One of the things that was fun this last semester is I had a chance to start helping out with the counseling students at the grad school here in town, at Western Seminary again. And that's a passion. I am passionate about counseling and what it does in the lives of people, but I am passionate about people learning how to do it, and the community of grad school, and people pursuing their dreams and pursuing their calling, living out their purpose as a therapist. And so just the art and the science, and uh, it yeah, I should do an episode about counseling, um learning about counseling. Oh, what am I've had a few guests that have talked about counseling. It's just fun. It's just what are your passions? um and sometimes your passion isn't necessarily your source of income. But so sometimes people burn out, or they're depressed, and they're feeling unfulfilled in life, and there's something missing. And so sometimes, uh, especially with COVID, is they've disconnected from things that they've enjoyed in the past, have been a passion, a way of expressing themselves, whether it's creative or intellectual development or something that they can, like, dig deep in and get obsessed about in a positive way. So yeah, what are you passionate about? um, what have you been passionate about in the past that you need to connect with again, reconnect with? Maybe you need to pick up your ukulele again, um, uh, or um, maybe maybe there's something that you haven't found yet that you might be passionate about. My daughter, she uh, didn't find it, but she definitely like flourished and grew in her passion for baking. And I benefited from that last couple of years. Um, so that's fun. But what else? Um, um, make time. Make time for people. Make time for passions. Maybe your passion is serving people. Um, I mentioned doing stand-up comedy. One silly thing a couple of years ago that I it was a project. So people, passion, purpose, project. What's a project that you could prioritize and focus on this month? The next 3 months. A couple of years ago, I had the goal of just like doing a stand up for doing a handstand for a minute. So when I first started out, I could do it for like 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Took me a while to get up to 10 seconds. And I got up to 44 seconds, 45, 44. I think it's 44 is the number. Yeah, 44 seconds. I didn't keep going. I got off track. Um, but that was a focus. That was something silly, but it like it, what does it all lead to? It tie these little goals can tie to other things, because one, it disrupts the patterns. It disrupted the pattern that I have of just being on Facebook and just like scrolling. But it also leads to other yoga poses and stretching and breathing and push-ups. And so was that habit stacking? um it, usually when you make a change, there's a whole constellation of changes that are associated with it. uh Jim Rohn, I think he said that like that we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And so the people we hang out with, the people that we give permission to influence us, people that we let into our lives, um, influence the way we are living out our lives. How are you doing here at the start of this year? Who are you becoming? Do you like who you're becoming? Do you like the trajectory of your life? Do you know where you ultimately want to end up? And do you have a path? What's the path? What's the path? What's the plan this week, this month, this next 3 to 6 months, this year? What's the path? What's the plan? What adjustments do you need to make? If you're not sure, keep exploring. Have fun. Have fun. Your life, your happiness, your joy, your peace, your satisfaction, your impact, your influence, your significance. Talk about a fun project to work on. So you're worth it. Life is an amazing gift, and you can do amazing things um, for yourself, for others in this world. This episode is dedicated to a pastor of mine, um, Dr. Bruce Fong. He found out he passed away this weekend. Bruce, he was one of our Old Testament professor in seminary. My wife and I, we met at Multnomah, and he was an amazing storyteller, just an amazing storyteller. Something that I want to grow in developing and communicating and telling stories. And he was one of the professors who invite us over to his house to watch movies. Almost every class, I think every class, he would start out with a great story that tied into the day's lesson. And after that year of Bible college, I started training Kempo karate with the Northwest Karate for Christ ministry. And Dr. Fong and his family, his kids, Kristen, Justin, and Jeremy, they were black belts. They were little. They were just amazing. The kids and Bruce. So spent a few years learning and training karate with them. And Bruce, he ended, he was professor of Bible, also pastor of several churches. He ended up being president of, I think, Michigan Theological Seminary, and then also a dean of Dallas Theological Seminary, where he first went to seminary. So he lived out his purpose in teaching the Bible, encouraging people in their faith, discipling uh, people, discipling. He would speak at men's conferences and Promise Keepers, I believe, too. And so just impacted a lot of lives for God. And and it's something that I want to do with the time that I have left. And so I hope this this episode encouraged you. Some of the some of the things, the ideas that I shared today, I cover in a ebook that a short workbook. It's kind of like a journal workbook on bridging the gap from where you are to where you want to be. And so if you want to explore the ideas from this podcast about your purpose and you're finding your people, and this workbook says a little bit more about negative self-talk and the things that hold you back, about the gremlins, and how to overcome those things. You can get that ebook for free on my website, savannpen.com. There's a something you can push to sign up and to get that sent to you. So if you subscribe to the email list, I that email list, I think I've sent 1 or 2 emails in like 8 years. So you're not going to get an email from me every week through there. But definitely encourage you to get that workbook, and encourage you to get some coaching or some counseling, some therapy. If you've been trying to connect to your passions, your purpose, but you're just you're getting stuck, or it's painful to do it alone sometimes. If you've really been through hard things, I definitely encourage you to do that. Maybe connect with one of the guests that I've had on the show, or I'll put a link to some resources for coaching and counseling in the show notes too. Thanks for listening. If you've listened this far, I hope this will be a great year for you guys. And please let me know what topics or areas that you'd like me to do more episodes on. Be happy to do that. I listened to a podcast, I think it's called Grow the Show or something, where the host emphasized that podcast. If you've listened to the podcast, is it helping you grow? Is it worthwhile? Is taking the time to listen, is it helping you change and improve and grow your life? And that's that's the goal. And I want you to experience that, and it takes courage. So I hope you do the next brave step, and I will see you soon.